Hey, what's up guys and gals, it's me. In this edition I'll be going over 8 tips before a big race. Now whether you're running a 5K, 10K, half marathon or full, you want to make sure that you give yourself the best opportunity to run a good race. If you don't take the necessary precautions before a race, it can have a big negative impact on your outcome of the race, and you definitely don't want to do that. Okay, number 1, you want to keep the same routine. This pertains to the same types of shoes. You don't want to make sure that you're using a different set of shoes the day before a race. You want to make sure you use the same shoe that you've been using while training. Let's say you go to the store and you see some brand new shoes. Oh, these look great, but that's not a great idea because you don't know how your legs are going to respond to the shoe. They may look all fancy smancy, but if you're used to wearing Asics and you switch over to Nikes, that might cause some big problems on your feet, and you definitely don't want to risk that, such as getting blisters and whatnot. And certain shoes have more arch than others, so you definitely want to keep the same shoe. Moving right along with the same routine, sleep. You want to sleep typically at the same time and wake up at the same time, and you want to do this at least a couple weeks prior to your race, because most races are going to start early in the morning. So if you're training at 9 o'clock in the morning, that's probably not the best. You want to kind of get your body used to sleeping at the same time and waking up at the same time. And adding on to the same routine, this pertains to eating the same types of foods as well. If you're used to eating oatmeal and pasta and certain carbs like that before a race, and it sits well in your stomach, that's a great idea. But don't go for the the pizza or something just really greasy, something risky. And this pertains to drinking water as well. If you're used to drinking water and then you switch over to Gatorade, that could be risky. You don't want to upset your stomach, so that's the main thing. Keep your routine the same. Number 2, you want to allow plenty of time before you get to the race. I actually almost had this problem. My half marathon, it began at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I left a little after 7, and I hit some traffic actually because they were blocking off one of the parts of the freeway, and I almost didn't make it. I was with my girlfriend. I decided to go off the road, off the detour, make a turn back, and I made it with about half an hour to spare. Definitely don't want to cut it close. Getting there earlier never hurts, so make sure you do that. Number 3, the expo. Most races, you can go to the expo the day of and or the day before. I prefer to go the day before because the last thing you want to do the day of the race is worry about picking up your bib, finding parking and all that. If you can't pick up your expo the day before, make sure you do that. Number 4, practice hills. If your course doesn't have any hills, then this probably doesn't pertain as much to you, but if you have a chance, make sure you check out your course that you're going to run, and if there are hills, you need to practice those hills because you're going to be in a world of hurt. I personally hate hills, but you got to do them. Go outside, find an area that's pretty hilly, obviously. If you can't, go to the gym, go on the treadmill, hit that incline, and so you'll be ready for the hills. Number 5, this might sound obvious, but it can happen if you're worried about all these other things and you're rushed to get to the race. Your MP3 player, you better make sure that your battery in there is charged fully. The last thing you want to do while you're running and you're on that mile 10 or whatever and you're hurting is your battery to die out. And when I'm hurting, that music helps me, keeps me going. For people that don't use a player, no big deal. You don't have to worry about this one, but if you do, you got to make sure that your battery is charged. In addition, this one is a little bit less likely to happen, but it has happened to me while I was practicing. I'm glad that it didn't happen during a race, but I had some earbuds and I had them in, and while I was running, because I was like sweating so much, and it sounds kind of gross, but I was busting some miles. I guess while I was running, one of my earbuds, the sound completely went out, and I think it was due to the extra perspiration and sweat that was getting into the earbud, and that caused it to go out. So I only had music in one ear, and that's not the end of the world because you can still have music in one ear, but for me, it just kind of just didn't make me feel very good. I just was running. I'm used to having it blasting in both ears, and let's say you're running and you have 1 mile to go and something goes AWire and it goes out. So what I did for my race is I had an extra set of earbuds. They're pretty light. I put them in my pocket actually. That's a little bit, for some people they might think it's overkill, but it's never hurts to be safe if you really rely on your music. Number 6, don't drink too many fluids before a race. Everyone's different. I personally, I need to go about 2.5 to 3 hours without drinking or eating anything before a big race because I cramp up very easily. Others might have to only wait about an hour or two. At minimum, you should wait an hour, but don't drink too many fluids because if you get a cramp, you're going to be in a world of pain, and that's just no fun. Stretching, pretty self-explanatory. You got to stretch out, warm up a little bit. This will prevent injury, so make sure you get your stretches in. Fortunately, this has never happened, but I've heard in cold weather, such as the Boston Marathon, Chicago Marathon, etc., on the East Coast. I'm a California boy, but if you run the long distances, you might get some chafing right here, and I've heard of the nipples getting bloody. So what you could use is Vaseline and just put it on your nipples. I heard there's some other products called Glide and whatnot, so definitely do that. Definitely on the nipples because where it rubs together, as well as in between the thighs. That about wraps it up. Any other tips that I missed, feel free to comment. Stay healthy, run hard, eat well. See you next time.